Wow, I got a bunch of good mornings from adults and one what's up from a kid. Should we try that one again? Good morning!
Good morning!
Oh, that was much better. What's up? Yeah. Well, good morning. Did anybody listen to the gospel message today? No? You're very honest. I appreciate that. I was looking around, I was like, I bet my kids won't. They were mostly coloring at the moment. But can I tell you a little bit about what the message was about?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, well, who do you think was in the message? Who's usually in the gospel message?
Jesus.
Oh, the always right answer, Jesus. Right? We have Jesus in the gospel message, and it's a story about Jesus when he was with some of his friends and disciples, right? Now, it wasn't just any old day. It happened to be a day they called the Sabbath, right? Which is like how we kind of treat our Sundays, right? It's a special day. It's God's day. Well, at the time, and with those people, with the Israelites, they had rules about what you could and couldn't do on the Sabbath day. It was supposed to be a day of rest, meaning no work. Yay! But you know what else? You know, the problem is work meant a lot of things, like no cooking. Wait a minute. No moving your muscles? Just 24 hours of this. Not quite. But the problem was there were a lot of rules about what you could and couldn't do. And it took people a long time to learn these things, right? Now these rules, a lot of them came from God about right ways of living, and they were intended to be ways of being good stewards of each other and taking care of each other and being family. The problem is people got involved. And whenever people get involved, we like to take nice, easy things and make them really complicated. Right? Levi? Woody? I have a feeling this has nothing to do with this. But this is it. When is the sermon? Was the question. So, people tend to take nice things and make it overcomplicated, right? Now, I have a question about rules. Do you like rules? No? Really? Well, maybe it depends on the rule. What are some rules you don't like? Going to bed at 9 o'clock. Boy, my kids wish they were still up to date. Okay, one second. Oh, 1 second. Noel? What? Oh, having to help clean? Oh, what a terrible rule. Okay, Levi, is there a rule that you don't like? Stealing money? No stealing money? You wish you could steal money? Well, we're going to have to work on that, I think. Fiona. Didn't have anything? Just stand up. I can't hear you. Having to clean. My kids are very opposed to the cleaning rules. That's, if you've been to my house, you know that. What? Oh, if you do something that's mean and you have to stand in the corner. Timeout rules. Oh, we don't like those. What? Eating healthy food. Lunch, why can't it always just be hot dogs and burritos? Okay, one more, Levi. That's not a rule. Okay, 1 second. Now I've got a different one. Can you think of some rules that you do like? Okay, what are some rules? Now, this is rules that you like, that they do good things for you. Hi. What? Oh, yeah? So, using words to say what you want to do, telling adults what you want to do and using words. That's good. Instead of just doing it, right? It helps keep us safe when we talk to each other and say what we want to do. Noel. Asking before taking. Because do you like it if somebody takes your stuff and doesn't ask?
Yeah.
I know you hate that. Yes, Jared. What's a rule you do like? Getting new Legos?
Well,
Is it
the
when you...
rule is if he has 4 or 5 good days of school.
Ah. So when you do the things you're supposed to do, then there's a reward that comes. Ooh, that is nice. We like rewards. Ellie. Keeping each other safe? Rules that keep people safe. Okay, absolutely. Okay, well, Logan. So you get to play video games? You have a set amount of time, or is it a reward? You get to play them all the time. Midnight, 1 a.m. Okay. Okay, hands down for a second. Okay, now I want us to think about this. Why do we have rules? Why did, in Jesus' time and around the people that he was with, why were those rules? And how about for us? Why do we have rules? Logan? To keep things civilized. We need more rules at my house, evidently. Help keep things civilized. Be nice. It's a little, and clean the table. So is it nice to have a clean table? It is nice to have a clean table. Is it nice to have clean clothes?
Yeah.
It is nice to have clean clothes. Noel.
Sometimes I have to wear my
Dirty socks, yes.
socks.
No wandering off without asking. Why? Why is that a good rule? You can get lost. Right? Now, here's the thing. Here's back to the story about Jesus. Here's the thing. They had these rules that they took very seriously. Especially this group of people called the Pharisees, took these rules about the Sabbath very seriously. Like they were almost like the rules police, right? And they would watch everybody, making sure nobody's breaking the rules. And if you broke the rules, you got in trouble. Now, was Jesus just always did what society wanted him to do, or was he a rule breaker? Jesus was a rule breaker. Now, Noel or Cora, please come sit. Jesus did now we hear a lot. We hear a lot about, be like Jesus, right? Live by the example that Jesus sets, right? Adults, do you hear that? I mean, you think about that one, right? There's that WWJD, what would Jesus do, right? And a lot of times we think about that as, okay, be nice, follow the rules. But Jesus' way of following the rules was a little bit different, because to Jesus there was one rule that was more important than any other rule. Do you know what that rule was? Love one another. Love one another was more important than any other rule. It's kind of there's this big word, compassion, right? To Jesus, if there were rules, please sit. If there were rules that were harming somebody or preventing somebody from being okay, then should that rule be broken? It should. If it meant helping take care of somebody. In our world, it comes around a lot. If we only live by rules without compassion, many times people get hurt. Because rules are set up for specific situations, right? What if we had a situation, let's see, where there was a rule at your house that you could only have 1 cup of water, not per day, that might be silly, but at a time, because maybe the kids at that house like to get in water drinking contests and make a giant mess, and so there's a rule about that. Now what if a friend comes over and they've been playing outside, and it's 108 degrees like it is going to be today, and they have one little drink of water, and they are still super hot and thirsty. Should we make them follow that rule?
No.
Or should we offer them some more water?
More water.
More water. Now, but wait a minute, we're breaking rules. But we're helping. But we're helping. We're saying that there's something more important than just the words of the rules. Right? And that is loving each other. Taking care of God's people. And who are God's people? Us. And who else? Everybody.
You.
Me? Even me?
You.
Everybody are God's people. And the example that Jesus sets for us is don't let the rules get in the way of loving each other and being compassionate and saying, in this situation, what's the right way to show God's love? Right? Because sometimes we can choose to follow the rules to be kind of mean. I won't give specific examples, but I know I've seen it at my house where one of the siblings likes to emphasize a certain rule at another sibling. Oh, you're not allowed to come into my room, even if I took your toy that's in here. But you can't come in and get it because you can't come into my room. Now wait a minute. Right? Sometimes we don't do a good job of being compassionate. Sometimes we don't do a good job of loving one another ahead of everything else. Of showing our most Jesus-like example. Sometimes we like to use the rules to be mean. And that's not what God hopes that we will do. And that's not the example that Jesus set for us. Jesus said, you can go throw that away, please. Jesus said, in his example, he said and shows us that what is most important is loving one another. And asking the question, is this rule hurting somebody? Right? So that's a good lesson for all of us. Especially on a hot June day where we're going to be grumpy. Right? Because when we get grumpy and tired, it's easy to get grouchy at people.
Yeah.
But sometimes Jesus wants us to look into our hearts and take a second and say, what is the kind thing? What is the loving thing? How can I show God's love to the people around me today? Okay? So that's what I want us all to think about today. Thank you very much. Let's have a prayer to close, okay? Dear God, thank you very much for letting us all be here together today. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to open our hearts and open our minds to think about rules in a way that's maybe a little different from the way we often do. A lot of times we like to think that rules are just the things we're stuck with. But help us to maybe start some conversations with the people we care about how we can live our lives in a more compassionate way and how we can take care of our neighbors and remembering that our neighbors are everybody. Be with us and help us to open our hearts and our minds to you and open our hearts and our minds to sharing the love that you offer us. In Jesus' name we pray.